Samoa! Ignore that Caden and I were doing something in the background, which made me hit 2, and it changed the background on the stream. And welcome back to... No, what is it? What's this intro? Remind me. I don't remember. So, yada yada, it goes something something, I forget the middle bit, and then it goes... Season 2, Episode 7, The Idiot's Lantern, which is an episode... conceptually kind of like A Quiet Place, you know that one, that big horror franchise, yeah. Where there's these monsters. Instead of like hearing noise, I guess they're not like afraid of noise, it's a little different, but instead of hearing noise, they're like really afraid of the dark, right? So if you're in the dark, they can't, like, they're not gonna get you, you're safe, right? And there's this little village then that's lived on the planet, and they're like in a little pillar of darkness, you know, they've built like some sort of dome around them. Not a dome, but like a covering, you know, so the monsters don't get in, because it's dark, because they're afraid. But Jeffrey is his name.
Jeffrey.
He's just got this lantern, because like he's a little hard to do stuff in the dark, and he just keeps going out town with his little lantern, and the monsters try and get him, because he's just a big idiot. He's a village idiot.
I forgot about this bit until we started talking.
Yeah, that's actually like a really good premise, is the monsters are afraid of the dark. Like, that right there is just boom, greenlit. Go write me an episode. That's the one fear we haven't really done, because Stephen Moffat's great at like getting a basic fear and turning it into a monster. We've kind of done Fear of the Dark. You've got like the Vashta Narada. Yeah, but this is the opposite, where the monsters are afraid of the dark, and I feel like there's a lot of potential in that idea. You could even get a recurring monster out of that, where you do like 3 different things with it, like across different seasons. It's also coincidentally the name, an old-timey name for televisions, The Idiot's Lantern. Totally unrelated to the episode, though. Yeah. If you don't know what we're doing, though, and for some reason, this is your first stream, you decided, you know what, The Idiot's Lantern, that's what I want to do today. Oh shoot, I forgot to start recording. I did that last week too, where I forgot to start recording until I was about to explain what was happening. They missed the amazing concept, the video people. You know, the Monsters Afraid of the Dark, that one. I'd go write it. But we're basically recording an audio commentary track live. So, you know, for legal reasons, I can't just stream an episode of Doctor Who, or in fact the audio. So what we're going to do is it's bring your own video. I've got the time bar, and we're going to have a blurred version of the episode in the background, as I demonstrated far too early. But it's a little difficult with Doctor Who, because there are basically 2 versions of every modern Doctor Who episode, and one of the classics. Look, we could spend a long time on this. If you're watching this live, we are watching the American versions, which are the exact same as the British versions, but they're about 4%, I think, slower. Yeah, slower. Don't ask me why. Google it. If you're not watching this live, in the description, it'll tell you which one it is. There might be a link to the other one, yada, yada. I don't know what the streaming services have. I think a lot of them had the American version, but they've kind of moved over now, because why would you use the British version? It doesn't matter. The reason the American versions exist, right, is because the people who made the Blu-rays, and I think even the broadcast version, are lazy. That's the reason. Like, it's frame rate issues, and there are ways to do it where you don't have change the speed of the episode, but they just didn't, because they're lazy. That's the reason.
That's right. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah, before we start, I like to ramble a little bit about the episodes. Actually, I had other things I was going to ramble before the explanation. This whole thing just got derailed. I don't know why. But yeah, we didn't have one last week. I don't know. You got anything cool going on?
I did something last week.
Oh.
I think I went to IKEA that Sunday. First
Man.
IKEA I've ever been to. It was cool.
I met the voice actor for Toph from Avatar. I think I win.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, I think I win. We went to a con, remember? I didn't even go. I
Mhm.
didn't know they were going to be there. We actually, funny enough, went for the cast of Has Been Hotel, most of whom were there. We got to meet a lot of them. We met Charlie, Angel Dust, who for some reason had like by far the biggest line, and it took me a while before I clicked. Oh, he's the adult film star character. Now it's clicking. Met Alistair, met Nifty, met Cherry Bomb, and met Valentino. I think that's all of them. And we went to meet them, and instead I just bought like a signed photo from Toph because I was like, we even brought little 3D printed ducks for the cast to get signed. Not the cast, the characters to get signed. Owning ducks of the cast would be weird, and and no, I just bought like because it was expensive. I bought a Toph print.
That's so cool.
Yeah, you should watch Has Been Hotel. I don't know if I've recommended it to you. It's I need to preface for the people live because Doctor Who is like a PG show. Has Been Hotel is an R show. It's an adult show, very much so. I mentioned one of the characters being an adult film star. No, it's. Have I told you about this show? I think I might have.
Yeah, I mean, I remember I watched the pilot when that was the only thing that existed for like 5 years.
Oh,
or
well, that's
something.
out now. The first season's like 4
I
hours.
Yeah, I remember that.
And it's really good. Especially if you're on this channel. It's weirdly got like Star Trek kind of vibes except instead of living in a utopia, they're literally living in hell. The main character, Charlie, very much has like that sort of sense of optimism. It's hard to describe, but basically it's the elevator pitch is Disney Princess in Hell, right? It's the main character, Charlie, the Princess of Hell, wants to rehabilitate sinners, and so they're opening a hotel where basically, you know, the sinners they can rehabilitate and hopefully go to heaven. Except heaven, she hasn't talked to heaven about this plan. Heaven's kind of dicks. I don't know. I don't want to explain too much because it's so short, but like my wife was really into it, and I was watching at the end of episode 2, the song they have in that, I was like, okay, I get it now. It clicked. And I'm like, I understand now. But yeah, it's kind of musical theater based. But more in the sense, like, I guess it's a musical, but in the same sense that, like, a Disney movie is a musical, you know?
Yeah.
It's like, it's not all singing. Every episode's got, like, 2 songs. But, you know, I guess, I don't know, would you call a Disney movie a musical? I guess it is, but I don't normally think of them
Yeah,
like
it's
that.
like in theory, but...
You know,
it's so much more than that.
It's Disney Princess in Hell. And if you hear the woman who voices Charlie, I met her. I should know her name. I met her in a Charlie cosplay. It's like, I had to ask my wife, like, has she ever done Disney princess work? Because, like, that is the most Disney princess I've ever heard. Her singing voice is like, no, Disney, like, you need to hire this woman because she's clearly a Disney princess.
We both explored wonderful lands, it sounds like.
Yeah.
Okay,
But no,
worlds, and I was looking at shelves and lamps.
there was a lot of cool art too. I way overspent on cool art and stuff. But yeah, no. Back to Doctor Who. This episode, I want to preamble a little bit. Other than my, you know, Fear the Dark, totally legit summary, and that random fact about Edith's Lantern being a name for television. That's totally unrelated. That's the only thing, though. This episode is written by Mark Gatiss, who you might know. No? Any bells? You might not know the name. You'd probably recognize him.
Talk about this guy, because is he the author
Did
that's
we
wrote
talk about
different books?
Of what?
The author who's wrote a lot of different really big books?
Oh, no, that was Neil Gaiman. Mark Gatiss. I must have spelt it wrong. Gatiss? Gaddis? Mark Gatiss. You probably recognize the guy. As I'm just showing my taskbar randomly. No? Maybe you don't. He's been in, like, Sherlock.
This guy.
But more relevantly, he is a prolific Doctor Who writer and actor. He doesn't act in this episode, as far as I remember. He's a big Doctor Who fan. But he is rather famous as a writer in Doctor Who for basically writing pretty standard episodes. This isn't his first writing credit. He did The Unquiet Dead with the Ninth Doctor and Charles Dickens, which is probably his second most out there script. He really only has one bad one, in my opinion. A lot of people don't like him, but he has one, and that is his most out there script. That's Sleep No More. We'll get to that one. Oh boy. It's a very experimental episode, and it's very bad. It's a found footage episode, and not a good one. Even I've heard from people who like found footage, like, it's not a good one. Some people like it, though, for some reason. But this is actually his last writing credit for Russell T Davies. I was surprised to find. He does a lot of his work for Moffat. But we'll have to see, because this episode of season 2, and why I bring it up, is often kind of frequently cited as a bad one, but more for just how kind of like meh season 2 is, I think. We've talked about this a lot, how season 2, other than like the Satan pit and childhood formative memories about Rose leaving, like there's not really much to this season. And there's a lot of kind of like bad. There's Fear Her, there's Love and Monsters, and there's this, which are 3 episodes that kind of get like slammed a lot. Tooth and Claw gets slammed a lot. And then there's the episodes that aren't talked about because they're just, no one talks about them. Then there's the Satan one and Rose leaving. Like, that's it. And honestly, if Rose didn't leave in that episode, it probably wouldn't have been talked about as much. So we'll have to see what you think as we get in.
Yeah.
Maybe you hate all of Mark Gatiss' scripts. Maybe in like a year, I'll tell you this is written by Mark Gatiss, and you'll go, oh. But it's worth noting, I think the only other writer who's not a showrunner I notice is Chris Chibnall. But actually, he is a showrunner. He just... Yeah, I don't know why I brought that up, but he does write for both Davies and Moffat. Yes. We'll actually get a Chibnall script next season. Probably his second best, which sounds good until you see it. Yeah. No. But I think we've probably talked about the Idiot's Lantern enough. We could have been this far into it if we started a while ago. But yeah, what we're going to do now is we're going to do a countdown. We're going to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. You see, I've learned to say it in the right order.
That was good.
I don't just start the countdown. I used to go 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. That's what we're going to do. And on go, everyone's going to hit the play button and we'll be synced up unless you're watching the wrong version, in which case, tough. I don't know. Maybe one day YouTube will just update the playback speed settings, let you do it at like 4% instead of 5%, and the problem solved. You know?
We can cross our fingers.
And then like a year later, they'll remove it for some reason.
Naturally.
Yeah. I remember someone once saying, it was actually the YouTuber Nerd Cubed, that I'm pretty sure, actually, now that I've said that, I'm like, are you 100% sure? If YouTube discovered the cure for cancer, they would announce it by standing outside their headquarters and injecting random people in the street without any comment. And that's how they'd announce it. I think they're a little bit. I think they're a little better nowadays. But yeah, shall we begin? 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, go. Good, that did work. I was afraid of this one. Hang on. There we go. Our hard drive took a little bit to catch up. But don't worry, you're synced. Oh, shoot. There's the blurred episode. Actually, that's a lot. I've only just clocked this episode takes place in like the 20s or something. It's a lot of pounds. Interesting thing about this episode that's noteworthy too. The kind of electronics shop in this episode, Magpie Electricals, has got to be the most successful business in the history of humanity because it becomes something of like a Easter egg in future episodes. And we'll see a lot of Magpie Electronics, even into like the 32nd century. Nice to see nothing's changed.
Jeez,
And
man.
saying that, though, I find it funny. Like, have you noticed... Did you notice the concept of, like, limited screen time just kind of dying? Maybe, like, 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah, that's true.
Because that was a thing when we were growing up. I think you had limited screen time, too. But
Yeah.
now I feel like it's kind of rare. And there's not really any basis to those studies of, like, really any downsides. Aside from, like, it can be difficult to fall asleep if you're kind of close to bed. That's it. It's actually interesting that there was a tie to as, like, televisions and computers got more common. People's eyesight got worse. But what that actually was is people thought the theory was that you're so close to a screen, you're looking at things close to you, right? But we kind of evolved to look at things farther, and so our eyes are compensating for that. That's not what's actually happening. It's actually something about, like, the composition of the light, if I recall correctly. And so going outside does actually help. But you could literally just, like, sit on a computer outside and it'd be fine. Like, so yeah, there's not really, at least to my knowledge, there's not really anything bad about constant screen time.
That's good.
At least from the screen specifically. I mean, it's not good to sit down all day, but here you get a frequently cosplayed uniform.
The cinematography on that on the intro sequence was
Say again?
obscenely. The cinematography on the intro sequence felt like obscenely cliche. With every shot was like an off-kilter Dutch angle, and I very much liked it.
You liked it?
It was so like they practically had the camera at a 90-degree tilt.
I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but literally every intro from the 9th to the 15th, the current one, has at least one incredibly simple yet annoying issue. It's actually amazing that for the past, like, 20 years, they haven't been able to produce an intro without a problem. There's a hilarious example. It's either season 1 or season 2, where in episode 1, the music was, like, slowed down for some reason. But then in episode 2, it's like they overcorrected and it's actually a little too fast. And then I think they hit the middle, but, like, yeah, I don't remember anything specific with this one other than those audio issues. But I know some of the others. God, that's a creepy horse.
It's like they're keeping going. Every shot is you take the camera and just tilt it a little bit.
Who directed this one? Let me take a peek. I mean, they obviously didn't direct the intro. Or maybe they did. There's no way to talk about your mom. The Wikipedia page or the memory out TARDIS wiki, whatever it's called, says featuring Elizabeth II, which I find funny. I guess she's on the TV. It was directed by Euros Lyn. He's directed a lot, apparently.
I mean, it fits the so far uncomfortable nature of the episode. Good creative decision.
You're a little quiet on my end.
I can adjust it a little bit.
Your volume level's fine. It's weirdly just a little hard to hear you.
Okay.
I think that's better. Oh, he wrote a lot.
His hair is so goofy.
He did Tooth and Claw and The Girl in the Fireplace. He's gonna do Fear Her this season. I'll have to pay attention. He also did the whole 3rd season of Torchwood, which I need to watch. So I might go watch that later and just see if it's all a bunch of Dutch angles. Who's that picture just outside the window?
I was looking at that.
Is that like the grandmother? I guess when every house looks the same, you go, ah, yes, you own this house.
What a real good secretive name.
I find it
Operation
funny
Market
too.
Stall.
I'm pretty sure we learn later this guy's literally just like the local investigator for like the local police, but he has some sort of elaborate secret agent Operation Market Stall.
That's so funny.
Yeah, exactly. It's like the local. It's just he's really enthusiastic about his job, you know.
Yeah.
That logo looks way too advanced for 1920. Is that just me?
I mean, the TV's talking too, so we could like.
That's an alien. Spoilers.
Maybe it's
it's alien tech. Yeah, I mean, I don't know though. Is it an alien logo or is that just the TV logo?
We'll have to keep our eyes out on the non-alien TVs.
Oh man, I remember this villain's catchphrase. You'll love it. Well, I'm sure it'll be in like 20 minutes. We'll get there. She's a very hungry girl.
I don't like that.
I think that villain, their name's The Wire, but no, you probably didn't know that. Is like the biggest slight against this episode for most people because they're a little camp. Well, they're a lot camp just later on. Actually, I changed my mind. There's another big slight at the end, the very end, but we'll get there.
The memories of this episode might be coming back, depending on what has happened to Grandma.
It's a very visually striking thing. Like, you'll probably come to mind, yeah. Also, this guy does a great job of being, like, a terrifying father. Mm-hmm. He's got, like, kind of dad bod, dad energy sort of stuff. Yeah. But look at that angry face. Oh my god, look at that angry baby. That baby's constipated. He does not look like a man who gets his hands dirty. That is a banker. God, he's just so bad, but it's love to hate. Love to hate.
Mm.
We walked around all day. Now it's night, and we finally decided this house.
Can't get over his hair. It's so funny.
What? Whose hair? The doctor?
The doctor's.
Oh my gosh, what is it? It's like I didn't even notice.
He's all
like,
done up.
It's like he's gonna play the villain of this episode, you know?
Yeah.
He's like, make it a little more gray, and that's like the evil professor.
It's crazy. Yeah.
Or Elvis, actually. I do like this scene where he kind of gets the old-timey guy to do the housework.
Mm-hmm.
And I've also liked it because it's always seemed weird. I mean, in England and other monarchies where it's like you have the queen, but it's like they're still super sexist and have like women doing more menial work. It's like you have a queen. I get you'd prefer a king, but you still have a queen. What is his hair? Like in the episode where he actually thinks he's a teacher from like World War One, he doesn't have that hair. I can't believe I've never noticed.
I don't know how.
In like 40 years, you can watch Doctor Who.
I'm on the edge of my seat because I think I remember this one, and I think it terrified me when I was a child.
Yeah, it probably would. It's the sort of thing that would stick. I don't remember being particularly scared, but it's striking. What do you think it is? Let's get there.
It like rips their faces off. They ain't got no face. It's either like they're either like mannequin or they got holes or something, or it's a different episode.
God.
Oh, angry doctor.
We talked over it, but I absolutely love that scene where, you know, the random dad's trying to be like, I'm in charge, and the doctor's like, I'm sorry, I'm 900 years old. I'm a Time Lord. I'm on my 10th regeneration. Like, you may be talking, and I don't care. Who plays Tommy? He's kind of ringing bells, but I don't know if it's because I've seen this episode.
Oh, what's happened to Grandma?
He plays Davros. What?
Yeah, no face. Tommy plays Davros.
Tommy plays not the main Davros. What? Oh, he plays a young Davros in Big Finish. That makes sense. Yeah, no, this is the one where they don't have faces.
Yeah, I remember that part. I don't think I remember anything else about the episode.
That's fair. Oh my god, all these pictures are weird. Look at that, like, sailor. Who's, like, told to smile at gunpoint. But no. Apparently for... I like immediately after the, I'm not listening! You get that scene. But apparently for some people with face blindness, that's what it's like, is just, I don't see the face, you know? Actually, I'd love to know how many people have managed to knock out the Doctor throughout, like, the whole history of the franchise, and is
Just
it
like
just that guy?
One punch.
I can't think of anyone else. I mean, it's not often the Doctor gets in a fist fight. Well, not anymore. There was that one regeneration, but... See that logo? Magpie Electronics? You're going to want to commit that to memory and spend the next 3 years looking for it. Slap. She's so happy. By the way, yes, you can hang a Union flag upside down because it's not entirely symmetrical. I had to go through that thought process myself. I think the red lines aren't quite centered.
Funny, they have to be working that part of the street
all
day and night.
I mean, is it really the worst job? I guess you don't have, like, phones or something, but...
Yeah.
You know, you could chat, you could read the paper. What else are you gonna do? Like, just go to the pub, chat, and read the paper? Is it really that different? Do you think that Market Stall is, like, purpose-built with the gate and everything, or does it just happen to be there?
I like to think he's so dedicated to his job, he's constructed this.
He's, like, diverted funding. It's like a critically underfunded neighborhood. Or, like, they look around and see how everyone's got a TV. It's like, God, this must be a rich neighborhood. And they tax the hell out of them. And, like, society's gonna collapse.
See, my young brain remembers either the Doctor or Rose walking through the room full of faceless people and thinking, that's, like, the most terrifying thing ever.
It really is. I mean, it's a striking, kind of scary image, but the more you think about it, it's, like, horrible. But I want to appreciate the use of darkness in this scene, especially when it was the, like, wide shot. That is definitely hiding, like, a lack of budget. And, like, well, we can't build that wall. Let's just put it in darkness. I've always liked stuff like that in lower budget productions. I think it's part of why I like this third season of the original Star Trek so much, is it's got a lot of we have $0, so this episode literally takes place in a black void. Or there's a Western one where it's just, like, the facade of buildings, and they work that into the plot. God, that's scary. It's really well done, too.
Yeah.
Like, that's gotta be practical.
I think so.
Oh, I forgot
a lot of them are looking
walk
like it.
at him. You know what? I'll give it to Mark Gatiss. This is actually a really good, creepy concept.
Yeah.
I can't really remember the concepts he usually comes up with, but this might be one of the better ones. Poor Magpie. There it is. That's her catchphrase.
No, I don't like it.
Could you imagine if your electronic devices actually did that? They'd, like, turn on every now and then because they got hungry. It's like, honey, can you feed the refrigerator? I did it last time. And tell that to the 2016 election. Rose is a character, does a good job of like stepping in, basically emulating the Doctor, but also being like way out of her depth and not really like recklessly emulating the Doctor.
Yeah.
I think is the word, because a lot of characters, I mean, they all to an extent will kind of do Doctor things. Rose is definitely up there in terms of like putting herself into really dangerous, reckless situations. I think it's done better than Clara. I'll say that for everyone else out there whose whole arc is that she like becomes the Doctor. A boring program too. I bet for a lot of kids this would have been kind of creepy, is like the idea that the villain in Doctor Who could just turn to you. It'd be like...
Yeah.
In fact, if Russell T Davies wrote this episode, it definitely would have ended with just The Wire, like on screen, talking to the audience. Can we appreciate, by the way, you were kind of right, they ripped their faces off, but your memory made it way more graphic because it scared you. You came in like, man, this episode was terrifying, and actually found out it's campy as hell. Oh, this is a great scene here as well.
This is funny, yeah.
Rap? What?
What is he even saying?
I'm trying to do it. Does he mean the hand on the same elbow? I'm calling BS on that one. Man, you left holes in your interrogation room. You see that bodyguard in the background? He was so happy to get cast for Doctor Who, and he's so upset he doesn't have a single line.
At least he got to keep his face.
It's like, this is the 15th take, you know? We haven't got the manpower. You operate a secret market stall base. There we go. I love it. And I hope you kind of realize, like, what happened, where the slow thing of, like, the guy standing up, leaning over the Doctor, to they both sit down, to the Inspector leans back, the Doctor leans forward, then the Doctor's the one peering over. He's like, yeah, that's right. I just turned this into my interrogation. Whoops.
Everything about this episode is working together to create, like, a very specific atmosphere, and I appreciate that.
This is season 2. It doesn't really have, like, a standout episode, where a lot of seasons will have multiple. It's got a lot, it's got some weak, you know, don't get me wrong, it's got a lot of weak, but it's not got just standard Who fare, but that has a lot of, like, pieces that work really well, and, like, a lot of good individual scenes. That's season 2. So, like, when you talk about it, it doesn't really come up much, but when you watch it, there's a lot to it, you know? That one looks more digital. Animated. Yeah. I wonder why. It still works, but next to the others. You know, it truly is amazing how blindsided a lot of people were by this Doctor's arc. Where I don't know
Mm.
if you noticed, but he seems to be a little, you know, I make the rules. You know, he
Yeah.
can go off the rails a bit. If he were to go a little bit off the rails, you would expect it not to really stand out, but I don't know if you remember much. You kind of remember the episode Waters of Mars,
Yeah,
because it
vaguely.
came up in the thing we do before the stream, but I'd really love to know things. Sorry, I remembered the joke, but when you did the thing earlier, like it's like they're in the room, you know. I wonder if people actually reacted like that to these televisions,
Mm.
or if it's just, you know, like times never change
Yeah.
sort of thing. God, what happened to this guy where he's like always on a knife? Okay, I guess like his whole community started losing their face, but you know. It's so awful, but I do have to appreciate the line and just his look.
He's such a fun
Like,
character.
that's exactly what I'm gonna do. Death glare. Oh my god, now that's a
Oh,
death glare.
jeez.
Good lord.
Yeah.
You know what? You could have had a very different Doctor if you just had his face like that the whole time.
Hmm.
Sorry, his hair. You know what it is? It's a lot like the 12th Doctor's hair. He's really channeling like Peter Capaldi here. He just doesn't have the evil eyebrows. You know, I mean, he can already do a villain, but when David Tennant becomes like a wrinkly, gray-haired old man, God, he's gonna make some great villains. He can go 12th Doctor. I forgot as well, it's also got like some good commentary on post-war England.
Hmm.
And you can tie it into the modern day, and not just in England as well, but because you did have these problems after the war, where you know a not insignificant portion of the population would lean into these sort of autocratic and fascist ideals. Not just in England. I mean, Red Scare anyone, but
There's the photo again.
what's the door 3 feet to the right of them as well? Is that the neighbors?
Yeah, ought to be. Good scene.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good in this episode. Like, I think it gets overhated, which is weird for an episode that I don't really think gets hate so much as just like, oh, it's season 2, you know?
I feel like I could see why people wouldn't like this episode because it very much is what it is. And so like if you don't like that, like, oh, you're not gonna like this.
That's very much a Mark Gatiss script, is they all are what they are, and most of them are just a standard Doctor Who episode. This isn't like a crazy Doctor Who episode. I wouldn't necessarily call it standard. But I mean, the one Mark Gatiss script I really don't like is the found footage episode, and it is what it is, a found footage episode, which God I just find so boring. I want to look up his hair, like in this episode, like why? East Lantern hair. Behind the scenes of the Idiot's Lantern. Tumblr. Oh my god, there's a picture here of David Tennant looking angry, sitting with that hair. It's mostly angry because of that hair. And someone's like tape measuring it, you know? It's like, ah, yes. Good lord. Oh god, I forgot about this scene as I look up from my phone. I just love the image of all the faces shouting like, what is it, help me or something, whatever. But then there's Rose as the only one who's shouting doctor. I always found to be a really effective scene. No, I'm gonna say this is a good episode. Like, The Wire's a bit camp.
I'm liking it.
And the ending's a bit odd. That's it.
Yeah, we got to see how it unfolds.
You'll get there. There's an odd bit. I wonder if that's an actual woman too. I like how she plays it. Like, it's campy.
Mm-hmm.
It kind of hurts an episode that is like generally spooky. But I love that, you know, she's clearly doing what she wants to do and doing it well. Nobody is talking about the Doctor's hair in this episode. And it's fascinating. Okay, right? He comes back for the 50th, and his hair isn't quite as spiky. It's kind of flat. And everyone always talks about that. This is so much more different. Why do you want a transmitter to be a receiver? Oh, because it's sucking the energy. Okay, I got it. I always like to think, you know, if the multiverse is real, that if all things that could happen do happen, there's a world where Doctor Who ends right here, 34 minutes into an episode, because the wire ate the Doctor's face. The end.
That's funny.
It's like, man, could you imagine living in that kind of universe?
I'm glad I don't have to.
There's a universe where Doctor Who has actually run for as long as it is. Every episode's the same. But randomly, like 10 to 15 minutes before the end, the Doctor just dies. And it's never explained why he comes back. It's never addressed. He just dies. What was that, like, phone shot? What's this? I guess the cameras are too big to fit in a car? Did you notice that? Like, that shot was a totally different quality. Oh, God, Sleep No More. Not Sleep No More. What is it? The Girl Who Died, a 12th Doctor story, literally has a scene that's shot with a fisheye GoPro. It's like... It's the scene, for people who've seen it, where, like, the Vikings are in the room that's, like, the trash compactor crushy room, is shot with a fisheye GoPro. Doctor Who has been weirdly run for 20 years. Let's just say that. I think the Chibnall era is the best example of that. Because, like, yeah, a lot of it can be Chibnall's writing, but, like, a show is not that bad because of one person. And like you get all these intro problems, you get weird shot decisions. There's that scene in Blink where the bottom third of the screen is literally the like behind the scenes. It's the underlighting of the TARDIS. It's
Yeah.
got film lights and cables. There's like a green screen in 3 episodes a season. Is in like they haven't edited it. It's just the green screen. They left it in. It's like, what is this show, man? It's great though. 10 out of 10. Wouldn't have it any other way.
Funny, I just did a video on Alexandria Palace for my job.
Sorry, on what?
On where they're going right now.
Oh,
for my
where
job.
is
it? Maxwell Hill,
Ah.
where they are right now, and it's like, yeah, the original BBC broadcasting station or something.
That's true, because you would have... I mean, the UK's small enough. You'd probably have more than one, but you'd probably have a huge one for Greater London. There you go. See? You learn something new every day. Usually from Doctor Who, not because of Doctor Who, but... I mean, so much of what I know about, like, the UK comes from Doctor Who. You know, we did kind of drop the spookiness about halfway through this episode, I will say that.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Mark Gatiss got into, like, the action, and he kind of maybe couldn't figure out how to put the spookiness back in.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. Wow, that dog is attentive.
Do you think it'll take the dog?
It'll take... I don't know. We'll have to see. You know, because spoiler, but we will see it attempt to take their faces, you know? We'll have to
I'm going to keep my eyes peeled.
Or is the TV a racist? A dog racist? What the hell is the King of Belgium doing to the transmission? I don't know, like, what would you do if you were the security guard at, like, the random broadcast station, nothing ever happens, and the King of Belgium starts climbing after some random guy with, like, a wire?
So what can you do, you know?
What can you do? You know what? I'm like, I think this one's out of my pay grade. I'm just gonna report it, you know? It's out of my hands. He's clearly an older guy. This is maybe, like, an easy sort of semi-retirement position. And then this happens. God, you know what? I'd retire.
Yeah, then I'm not doing anything. Oh, it's on the dog.
Oh, it is. There you go. Taking
Yeah.
the dog's face.
Funny.
It is kind of funny to do an episode about this. Because, like, a good chunk of your audience, if they didn't actually watch the coronation, they've got, like, their granddad or maybe even just their parent who did. It's like, you know, I don't remember this bit. Okay, I guess we had, like, the Slovene invasion and stuff, but this might be the first historical episode where it's like, you know, actually, I think I'd notice, you know? Which is weird, because Russell T. Davies is usually good on, like, consequences. And having a world that's actually affected by the change. It's Stephen Moffat who kind of comes up with the idea of, humans forget. You know, it's Daleks invaded, we forgot, whatevs. But who knows? I mean, it doesn't really matter, you know? But, like, I have no problem with Doctor Who just being a parallel universe to ours or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
This is pretty well done, you know, like, I mean, we could probably do better now, but it looks like the Doctor's high up on a...
Yeah.
It doesn't look green screened. He's probably, like, 5 feet up outside in the parking lot, but... Then there's the parallel universe where he's like, well, guess I'll die. And he just jumps back. Enter
just
Matt
slips.
Smith, stage
Falls.
right. That's how the fourth Doctor went. He just slipped and fell off a big tower. In fact, it might have been that tower. No, I think it was like an observatory tower or something. See, like, they clearly noticed something happened.
Dog
The dog's not
moving
too
around.
fussed, though. You know what? That's like my pug. He'd kind of be, like, looking around, and that's it. Bring back the wire.
Well, okay, what just happened there?
Oh, no, I remember. He explains what happened.
Okay.
I was gonna come up with something, but...
Good on Tommy.
I bet he has this hairstyle in like half the episodes, and I've just never noticed. It kind of looks right.
Ah.
Wait, he wrote it on Gallifreyan? I could totally see the BBC, you know, loses like 30, 20 years, 10, 50, I don't know, like a lot of years of Doctor Who, but it keeps that one, you know?
Crazy that they're already back on the Queen though.
Well, I don't know. What else are you gonna do?
I feel like I just know
guess
what I
that
wouldn't
was-
do.
I don't know. Just watch the
And look at the
coronation.
TV. I don't think I'd look at the TV.
Do you even know it was the TV, though? I guess if it was like
suppose.
this weird mystical technology, I don't know. I don't think there's a precedent for that sort of thing. TV tries to steal your face. No, they changed the mood lighting in the house. I also want to know what this secret cupboard is behind the TV. I've noticed it in a few shots.
Oh,
I also
yeah.
love the second tiny rug in the top right. There, look at it. It's like a
Oh, yeah.
cupboard.
The wire's not actually in the TV, just in there.
It's actually a guy in that secret cupboard. It's not even the television. It's just a very fast artist. There's 60 artists who can draw 1 frame a second, working in parallel. Nope, so I just threw it in the side. And just leave it on the street, honestly, and it'll probably get taped over. Like, if you tape over the moon landing, we'll tape over anything. Give it a Google. Moon landing, tape over. Fascinating story. I can tell it after the episode if you want.
So
Oh,
did
here's the
someone tape
weird
over the
bit.
moon landing, I'm guessing. Oh. Weird bit.
He's not an idiot. He's like an abuser. But... So this resolution gets a lot of complaints. Where I think first off, I get what they're going for, right? Is sort of a be the bigger man kind of story. Of, you know, just because someone else is awful doesn't mean you might not be able to help them. There's also aspects of, like, Rose never really knew her dad, like, because he died when she was a kid, and, like, she's gone back and met him. But, you know, she'd probably do anything to have her dad back. I didn't mean to say her dead, but her dad back. But it's like, I mean, what it is like what we've seen is like a abusive father who can't just be like this one episode in this one situation because he's way too like fuming at the edge the whole time and way too this is my house, like way too.
Mm-hmm.
You don't just do that because of one stressful situation. And the mother clearly seems to think like, hey, this is a long going issue. It's like, you know what, he was abusive, but he's your dad, so you should still like go with him. It's like, no, that's not how that works. And so it's gotten a lot of, I think rightfully so. I mean, I think it's probably more like Mark Gatiss and like editors and stuff didn't really think it through too much. Because like, I think the message they're going for is a good one.
Yeah.
I think it's very badly argued. Like the argument is he's your dad, therefore you like owe something regardless of any circumstances to your father. It's like, no, no, you don't. Especially not that one. But yeah, that's like that. So that's like one of the big criticisms, especially because it's the end. It sticks with people.
Yeah.
I think The Wire is just a bit camp, and it's like, I mean, that's not the best episode of Doctor Who. It's like, in any other season, I don't even think it'd really be standout. In this season, I don't think it's necessarily standout. But, like, it does the things it wants to do really well. It's got plenty of really good scenes.
I think overall I liked it.
It has, like, a tone shift halfway through of, like, spooky atmospheric. I mean, maybe it was spooky and atmospheric because you were trying to answer the questions. And then, once you answer the questions, there isn't a mystery. You've answered the questions. And so we kind of switch gears. I don't think it's a problem. It doesn't... Unlike, say, the Slovene two-parter, where there's this weird kind of battle between funny farting aliens and the imminent threat of, like, nuclear Armageddon.
Yeah.
And the episode can't really figure out what it wants to be. This one just feels like it kind of swaps gears fairly naturally. I guess a bit of whiplash maybe if you don't expect it. Like, I knew it was kind of what was going to go into. I remembered The Wire was campy. At least so far, this is definitely, I think, a better one. I guess the Cyberman two-parter was good, but this is probably, like, top 2. At least top 3, because a lot of people like Girl in the Fireplace, of what we've seen so far. No, I think it's definitely one of the better stories of the whole season. Just looking at the 10 stories there are, it's just like in any other season, one of the best of the whole season would be like Blink, or it'd be like it'd be Father's Day. It'd really stand out. And but I mean, honestly, season 2 is fine. Season 2 is all right. I think there are worse seasons than season 2. Even ones that aren't written by Chris Chibnall. Don't agree with me. You've only seen 1 and 2.
Oh no, but I've heard the tales.
Oh, you've heard. You might like it. You might. Chibnall Who might be your thing.
I still have one of my friends who watched through it a while ago, and the further they got into Doctor Who, the more they liked it.
That's not too uncommon because a lot of people like Moffat over Russell T Davies. Here's the thing, right? Russell T Davies. I'm particularly going to focus on like the 9th and 10th Doctors because his new stuff is just too young. And also kind of fumbled a lot of key bits in his new stuff. But in his old stuff, Russell T Davies is really good with kind of the character and his main big ideas. He does really well with Nine's kind of whole situation with the Time War. He does good with, the story of the Doctor and Rose, the 10th Doctor's whole arc across like his 3 seasons. Donna and the Doctor are like a favorite companion duo for many. And there's a lot of good things he writes. He's also just, I think, a good showrunner generally. Even if he generally doesn't write the best episodes, he can make a product work out, And he's actually like probably the most inconsistent writer because he writes some like bang out stellar episodes, And he also writes some utter crap. Like, he's all over the spectrum, basically equally. You never know what you'll get with Russell T Davies.
Yeah.
But Russell T Davies, I feel me and him really disagree on a lot of things. And he has a perspective on the Doctor that I don't really gel with a lot. One thing he really enforces, I mentioned before, you know that scene in Rose with the Ninth Doctor, where he's like, I can see like the whole world spinning, like I can feel it, like moving around my feet. He's got this big spiel people like, and the thing I'm really getting at is it comes up a lot, is the idea that the Doctor can see all that was, all that could be, what must not be, and all that is. He basically has some sort of like omniscience of the universe. That has always struck me weird. Like, there's none of that in like the first 8 Doctors. Maybe 7 a bit, but it's more just like, you know, he's a time traveler. He knows what's gonna happen. Then it's some sort of third eye thing. But I've never liked that because, like, okay, doesn't this make every Doctor Who episode trivial? Like, land on a planet, right? Walk out of the TARDIS, security guy's like, Colt, who are you? He's like, hang on a minute, I know you. You're currently plotting to overthrow this government. I know the location of all your secret bases. I can fully tell you your plan because I've seen it. Here's total evidence to prove it. And then also, here's a string of facts about you and everything about your guards from your past that only you would know, that you've never told anyone, so I can prove that even if what I'm saying isn't true, I certainly know a whole lot and you can't explain it and you need to look into what I'm saying. Easy. And I guess just more generally, there's sort of vibes that, like, lower down, you know, you kind of forget these details. I feel he treated season 1 as a lot more of a reboot than is generally remembered, and then what I would have preferred once I had gotten that like context of the first 8 Doctors. And there's just there's a lot of little things and takes. It's hard to think of generally because of what I'm saying. They kind of fade away when you're thinking back. But Moffat is really good with, like, he's amazing ideas. You know, like, most of the iconic villains from Doctor Who, modern Doctor Who, are Stephen Moffat ones. Okay. He has amazing scripts. You know, not everyone is good, of course, especially when he is the showrunner and he writes a lot more. But he rarely has like a truly bad episode. I'd have to look at a list. I can't think of a Moffat episode that's truly bad. But, you know, even if he does, when you write that many episodes, you know, you're going to have some duds. Yeah. And when he's showrunner, it's not all, like, classics. You know, he falls into a little more of a middle ground. But especially as he goes on, he can fumble at the big picture. He doesn't focus on character so much. A little bit more with the 12th Doctor. But, you know, his big thing is, like, complicated, timey-wimey plots, right? Yeah. And his big thing with, like, the whole 11th Doctor's 3 seasons are, like, a bigger overarching plot. That makes literally no sense. And I don't mean it's complicated. I mean, like, a lot of people say, oh, I'm too dumb to understand, you know, what was going on. Like, after the seasons went on, like, season 5 was fine, but River gets too confusing, the plot gets too confusing. It's not that you're too dumb. It's that there isn't a consistent answer. Yeah. For a bit of a weird example, I don't want to get too spoily, but there's an episode where one of the main villains, they basically control humanity from, like, its inception, and, like, guide it. And in the 1960s, they make a NASA astronaut suit because they need one. They tell humanity, you want to go to the moon because they need a spacesuit. So they get humanity to invent a spacesuit, right? That's the plot. That's why they do it. We learn later that these villains are from a time in the future. And beyond that, they actually work for an organization that is headquartered on a spaceship. Beyond that, it's also a human organization. So they should be fully capable of constructing a spacesuit. And beyond that, because they're from the future, they should be fully capable of constructing an Apollo spacesuit. Like, we have records of how to do that. If we wanted to, we could build an Apollo spacesuit. So why do they go back in time to construct one when they could just make one?
Yeah.
It's like, I could go more in depth, especially if I get more spoilery. And so you kind of remember that. I remember I have a lot of problems with the 12th Doctor. I've got a lot I like, but some big problems. So Moffat really succeeds at lower levels. And to be fair, Russell T Davies' worst season is season 2, which we're watching now. It's got, it's good to watch. Stephen Moffat's like 1 or 2 bad seasons, like 7 and 8. 7 is just kind of dull. Every episode's pretty standalone. There's not really a great... There's ones I like. But I think it's season 2, but a little lower quality. And season 8 is where I start skipping. Season 8 has some I can't watch. I really struggle with early 12th Doctor. And I think the bads of Stephen Moffat kind of stand out more. But I think I prefer Moffat generally. They're both very good, though. Like, I'm not too upset with either. Russell T Davies nowadays, with like the 15th, 14th, and 15th Doctors, seems to be leaning more into the aspects of him that I wasn't as big a fan of. But, I'm still enjoying the show. We've reviewed that in depth. You could spend, like, more... You could watch us review Doctor Who for more than there is, like, 15th Doctor. Yeah. We could, heck, skip next season, and that'll still probably be true. Like, just about. The longest stream is, like, a 5.5-hour review of the first 2 episodes. I'll always remember when we were reviewing episode 1 of season 14... And someone was like, "Hey, I've only seen the first episode."
And they watched.
And then they came back later, and I was like, "What? I thought you were leaving. Spoiler." Hang on, have we been live that long? It's like, yeah, I left, watched the episode, and came back.
That was so funny.
And then we still kept going for like 2 hours.
We did, yeah.
I almost beat JXC's like Fall of Doctor Who video. Looking at it, Stephen Moffat has episodes I don't like. The Caretaker is 45 minutes of the main characters being toxic to each other. But he generally hits. Oh god. Okay, season 9 has Heaven Sent, the best episode of Doctor Who. But every time I go into season 9, I look at it, I go, Witch's Familiar, Magician's Apprentice, that's great. But Under the Lake Before the Blood, that's great. Like, why the hell don't I rate season 9 so highly? Like, it's a great season. The Girl Who Died, the Woman Who Lived. And I go, oh yeah, the season arc's a bit crap. And it's like, I go, that's why. Literally every time I look at the episodes, I scroll down, see season 9, and go, oh yeah, the hybrid. It's a bit crap, isn't it? Season 9's interesting, though. That season, the whole thing is 2-parters, except for 1 episode. It's Sleep No More. We were talking about that one.
We were.
But yeah, I think I prefer Moffat. It's really cool. Like, his highs are great. Something interesting someone pointed out to me. Russell T Davies is famous for like his character work, right? Yeah. And his real focus on that. Whereas Moffat is known more for his like timey-wimey shenanigans or the plot. He doesn't really focus on character. He does action-y plot. We had Girl in the Fireplace, but like, the gas mask child one, that's not really a character-driven story.
Yeah.
It's not super action-y, and those are the only ones you've seen of him so far. But like The Silence in the Library, it has character. You can't do a story without character. But it's much more about the plot. Same with Blink. Russell T Davies' finales are all action. There might be an emotional climax. The Ninth Doctor regenerating, Rose leaving, that sort of thing. But it's like the Doctor fights the Daleks. Spoilers, but for the future ones we're looking at. But they're all actiony, climactic. You remember Empire of Death is like
Yeah.
basically an action piece. It's a bit calm in the middle, but it's action.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Stephen Moffat's finales kind of end in like speeches or are mostly character work. Season 5 is fairly plot heavy. That's super complicated. The finale, is that the Christmas one? No, the finale for season 6 is the Wedding of River Song, where the climax is like a wedding. Hey, the whole episode is basically characters talking to each other. Like, I think the universe is ending, but that's like set dressing. We never really addressed that. The Angels Take Manhattan is more plot heavy, but the resolution is like a talking scene in a graveyard. Name of the Doctor is like literally conversations for 45 minutes. The regeneration episode itself like spends about 10 minutes wasting time because it doesn't have enough time to fill, and then it's like narration in just let's have a nice chat as we say bye to the Doctor. Resolution of Death in Heaven is the Doctor and the Master having a conversation in a graveyard. They're all conversations, like and a lot action focusy. Like the biggest example, World Enough Time in The Doctor Falls is the 12th Doctor's Regeneration story. In like, sure the Cybermen are like invading, but you know they're off on a different floor of the building. Don't worry about it. It's like we're just gonna talk about things, and they're better. I just went through them, but I'm having to think. Like, I think every Moffat finale is probably better than every Russell T Davies except maybe season 1. Because what's the one I said was weak? Season 5 or 6, kind of weak. And I'm like, you know what? You're right about that. Like, I think there's just a lot of I don't know. I think Moffat is probably a bit better, but in ways that don't really stand out when you think about him. And Russell T Davies is worse in ways that you don't really stand out when you think about him. And I think that's one of the big reasons people are so excited for him to come back. Don't get me wrong. There was a big, sizable portion of the community being like, okay, yes, but like, these were all his problems that I remember from the, like, early on, and we might see them again. And yeah, we saw them again, and in fact, he, like, emphasized them. But I think that's why a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Russell T Davies, and they're like, what is this? And it's like, well, this is what he wrote before.
What it
He's
is, yeah.
just moved his focus a little bit into the things that most people seem to think don't really work as well. Like that is Russell. I'm not too surprised. You know, someone's probably, when you do these reviews, it's like someone's probably going to pull out something I said at the 60th. It's like, oh, well, you said so-and-so. Like, you were praising the hell out of him. And I was like, yeah, I'm not too surprised. Actually, I'm a little surprised kind of how much he dropped some of the balls in his explanation for things, but it's not so, like, out from what I was expecting. I'm pretty sure I was hyping up the whole season how bad his finales always are.
You were. It was a good season.
No,
but yeah, it had
I mean,
flaws.
He just fumbled his main thing, which you never want to do. I've said before, I've watched truly awful seasons of television. Star Trek Picard Season 2, God, it's hard to sit through. I actually think I gave up on it when I reviewed it on this channel the first time. Mostly because I fundamentally misunderstood a core aspect of the season, which made it, not core aspect, a core plot point, which made something way more horrific and immoral than it actually was.
That's really funny.
That's my bad, but it's still an awful season around that. But it has 3 main things it wants to do. There's like 3 core scenes it wants to do that are like, they're the cores of the plot, the character work, the morals. Every single one it nails. It doesn't earn them. Getting there isn't fun. It's not done well. It's bad. But the scenes themselves in isolation are like perfect. And so when I think back on that season, I don't remember like any of the detail. I remember the core things, and I think about it a lot more highly than I know it actually is.
Yeah.
Like I should never watch it again because just remembering it, I'm like, yeah, that's good. And then watching it is like, oh yeah, you did that, you did that, you did that. Um, and so yeah, that's the thing is with this season, especially when it's the season that needed to be amazing. It's the season that like needed to be the best thing in the universe to kind of get back to a global phenomenon. Don't get me
Yeah.
wrong. This is a big rumor that Doctor Who's in like dire situations. They still haven't renewed it for season 3 yet, which sounds bad, but is kind of like standard practice for the BBC. No one was expecting it renewed until after the second season aired. There's rumors that like Disney is thinking of pulling out, the BBC is thinking of canceled. No, like everyone who crunches the numbers at the BBC has said they are like overjoyed. It has over exceeded expectations and the target demographic, which is the important demographic for the people who decide whether to do shows or not. As far as Disney is concerned, Doctor Who costs like $5. Doctor Who is cheap as hell for them to produce. Even though they're funding, I think like maybe even something like half of it, it's like pocket change. And you know what? It's doing pretty good. Like, even if it was doing okay, it's so cheap to produce. Disney's like, yeah, whatever. Unless you're like actively bad, this is whatever. And the only way the numbers failed is that Russell T Davies personally expected it to do better. And that makes sense because the last time he ran Doctor Who, it was like, what, 2007, 2008? It was like, 2010, last time he did Doctor Who, 14 years ago. It was a global phenomenon, and, times have changed. I mean, he's written other stuff, not as big as Doctor Who, really, but, and don't get me wrong, like, award-winning stuff. But, he's just of a older time, and, like, he's in the industry, he should know better, but it's going to be hard to, measure those expectations when you've spent like the first 10-15 years of your career pulling numbers that just don't happen anymore to be like that I remember when it was 10 million. I mean, even now I think, and not to mention the fact that it's like split on streaming, I'm pretty sure season 14, I'm looking at it now, aside from the Christmas special, hit, especially on day one air, some of the lowest ratings that Doctor Who has ever pulled. Like, even going back to the classics. It's like, well, duh, because you could watch it 24 hours earlier on iPlayer, and you watch it on demand now. Like, when you counter in the first, like, 60 days, it's doing amazing. It's one of the best. Even the, like, televised broadcasts, I'm pretty sure, are in, like, the top 5 or 10 programs of the day. Like... even then, and like on iPlayer, it's one of the top performing programs. So it's like, even if Doctor Who is like dying, well, it looks like literally every show is dying because it's one of the best performing, But no, I mean, they've commissioned like spin-offs, and we'll have Christmas. Like, they're gonna have a bunch. I think I mentioned season 16. We're kind of expecting 2026. There won't be a series.
The gap because of the spinoff.
No, wait. An expected release date. That's not a gap because it's 2024. So next season's 2025. What is the citation on this? Well, I think fans are expecting a gap. This was 41. Doctor Who showrunner shares status 2026. If the third series follows the same pattern in the process that has been somehow streamlined, it should be released July 2026. Oh yeah, that's not an optimal time. I mean, that's speculating from like cultbox.co.uk. But I mean, if that really is the timeline it takes them to make the show, we might not get a gap, which I'd really hope for. A lot of people thought Russell T Davies said we wouldn't get a gap. That's not what he said. He basically implied without saying, he said without saying that the spin-offs will mean we get Doctor Who content every year, but not necessarily the main show. But maybe that's not how we're doing it. I mean, like led war between the land and the sea, whatever the hell that monstrosity is called, is like that's not Doctor Who. Like I mean it is,
Yeah.
but it's not like
But yeah,
getting that doesn't mean I'm satisfied not having Doctor Who that year.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not even really satisfied with 8 episodes. I guess technically 9 episodes a year.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, we will get Christmas, so like every year. But you know what sucks kind of weird on rewatches? When you go back to Stephen Moffat, like here you go, season 7 is the Christmas special. Actually, it's if you go back to the one before, so it's the Christmas special. It's 5 episodes. It's the Christmas episode. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 episodes, some of which are 2-parters. The 50th anniversary of the Christmas special. And like you get back-to-back Christmas specials sometimes. I'm trying to find one. And it's always kind of weird. Here we go. Husbands of River Song and The Return of Dr. Mysterio are back-to-back Christmas specials.
Funny.
Granted, this one's like, hey, Marvel's cool. It's not most. Here, look at this poster.
What?
Yeah, no, this was the year. I think this is the last Christmas special. No, it's the second to last Christmas special.
That is weird.
Look, you try writing 12 Christmas specials. You kind of run out of ideas. It's not a great Christmas special. It's a fine episode, but it's like, it's 2016. It's like, hey, Marvel. In fact, 2016, is that Endgame?
Couldn't have
Which
been.
Avengers
Endgame...
movie? Endgame was 19. What's the second one called? Age of Ultron. Age of Ultron was 2015. So yeah, they basically probably wrote that around the time Avengers 2 came out. And then Twice Upon a Time's a Regeneration episode. I like it. It's a good one. So I'm actually amazed that Stephen Moffat is writing a Christmas special. Because it was leaked that he wrote the Christmas special before we learned about Boom. And I'm like, no. Even if Moffat's returning, like, I think he's not necessarily complained, but he's talked about how hard it was to do Christmas specials after they'd done so many. You kind of run out of ideas or, like, things to do. And you just write, what about superhero? What if you get, like, Die Hard is set at Christmas kind of vibes.
Yeah.
But even less Christmassy than Die Hard. The Wedding of Husbands of River Song. Great episode. I don't really know if it's Christmas. I guess there's maybe family vibes, but yeah, I don't know. It's whatever. I was also saying, I thought it wasn't written by Stephen Moffat. No, it was. It just was directed by someone else. I don't know. I think we've probably done enough for the stream. I've kept you for like 7 hours after the stream.
I've been learning about Moffat.
It's fun. One day we'll cross a line where like I have to explain less and less to you. You're just like, oh yeah, season 7. I remember that one.
This feels like Moffat. It's
The thing Moffat kind of struggles with when you think about him is season 7 is about where you can start the narrative of things going wrong. Seasons, like I've said it before, season 7 isn't like the end of Doctor Who. Don't get me wrong, far from it. But that's where I start the story that ends with Chris Chibnall thinks he writes the last ever episode of Doctor Who because they don't have a showrunner yet. So that, like, most of that time frame is Stephen Moffat. Which, I mean, fans love it. Fans love the 12th Doctor. But it's undeniable that the mainstream didn't. And that wasn't great for the ratings,
Yeah.
But yeah, I will say... Oh, unless you want to say something.
Oh, I don't know. I got to strap in and prepare for when the time comes to watch those episodes.
I think Moffat takes over in like half a year-ish. Unless we get, season 15. Because, like, we finish... Actually, it's funny. Season 3, I looked this up, assuming we don't skip a week and all the 2-parters we do the same day. We will be in season 3 when the Christmas special comes out. And we will be just before like the 3 episodes that are the finale, the 2 or 3. I was worried we'd actually cut it in the middle. We'd watch part 1 of the finale, we'd do the Christmas special, and then we'd do the like other part. I was hoping we could like have it be a clean transition. We end season 3, but that's how things are shaping up at the moment. But yeah, I mean, so we're going through fast. Like Christmas is what, 3 months away? Yeah, about we're 3 months away from a new episode of Doctor Who, and
Wow.
Boom was one of the really good ones.
It was, yeah.
I don't mean to go like, hey, Stephen Moffat's a great writer. He wrote the superhero Christmas special, but he also wrote A Christmas Carol, which is widely regarded as the best Christmas special. So, you know, maybe in the last 10 years, he got some cool, good ideas.
Yeah.
You know. The trailers for that is out, by the way. I don't know if you want to watch it. I haven't seen it.
I didn't know that.
I know a few things. Oh, actually, no, this is big news. I should have put this at the beginning. I have been told, right? I've seen on Reddit that season 15 now has leaks. Some minor.
Ooh.
And the Reddit post said some major. And major was in all caps. I haven't read the leaks. I saw one post of like so-and-so cast to play a villain. I don't remember their name. I don't remember what they look like. I hope I forget. I hope it's not a surprise, because otherwise I'd see him and it's like, hi, doctor, I'm unit scientific advisor. It's like, uh-oh. I recognize you. But, yeah, so there are leaks. Be careful. I will start probably hearing whispers in the wind. I've seen an alien clips, photos from the trailer that they released of the Christmas special. I don't think it's substantial. I don't even think they're, like, main. I think they're just in it. But it's interesting. Okay. There's a returning villain. Well, I guess they are a villain. It's a little unfair. It's a little racist to call them a villain. There's a returning species, right? That usually plays usually they're the role of antagonist, but there are also members who are the role of protagonist. But yeah, I'll start hearing whispers. We'll see. Is this a leak? Hang on. I have a theory I've mentioned on season 15. We'll say if it's true or not. It's I don't know if it's a leak, so I don't want to say it. But there's a theory on who the next villain's going to be.
Ooh, already.
That they've possibly set up. They might do it another way. Well, this was way back. Like, this was honestly probably a theory before Stephen Moffat took over as showrunner, because here you go, here's the tease. It kind of follows, I've mentioned, Russell D. Davies structured his first 4 seasons, notably not season 14, but his first 4 seasons to follow major villains of the first 4 Doctors.
Yeah.
So I said before, I expected Shruti Gadwal's first season to be like the Mara or something, because it'd be a 5th Doctor villain. But yeah, there's the BBC has done some weird marketing things that suggests a certain 6th Doctor villain might be returning. I can tell you when the stream closes, but I don't remember if it's a leak. I think it might have been technically someone claimed it was a leak, but you know, is it reliable? Is it like just some dude said, you know, whatever. Did someone see Richard E. Grant in like the what was it, the Rogue episode, and think it was something else? Like, I don't know. But yeah, I will say thank you all very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.